I remember my grandma very, very dearly and very closely. And some of the most special occasions were Christmas Eve. Grandpa had died, and that had changed something about Grandma. There was a sadness around the holidays, there was a grieving going on in her, and the loneliness. And whenever she joined us on Christmas Eve, we had our typical ritual and tradition. So first, we always had dinner. Then we gathered by the tree and we sang our good German carols, Christmas carols. And then we hugged each other and we wished each other Merry Christmas, all on Christmas Eve. We did not have to wait until morning. But whenever we did that, I could see my grandma tearing up. And it was not just the sadness and the grief. That may have been part of it. But there was something about her being moved and experiencing it as a gift, as grace, that she was alive to see her grandchildren grow up. That was extra blessings. That was like where she welled up with tears of gratitude and of joy. And when we hugged each other, I felt like her arms were like God's arms, like Jesus' arms, embracing us, hugging us, and holding us close to her heart. Who reflected God's love for you? Well, Grandma did it in her own unique way. Sigrid, you know Sigrid, she's in the background often. She would be mortified to stand up here. We have been married for 33 years, and 25 of those have been for me in ministry. To me, Sigrid, you know, there is Pastor's Appreciation Sunday, there is Little Sigrid Appreciation Sunday. So when I stand up here because of Sigrid. And that meant all the way from college to seminary, through all those blocks. You know what? You ever had a block? You ever felt stuck? It was after midnight. I was an intern. I was blocked. There was just no way through. Whoa. But not just connected with me. Sigrid in her own right. With her craftiness, what she touches turns into gold. She's just amazing, just amazing. Her craftiness, her graphics, it's just, and she does everything. I admire her for how she does everything. It's just amazing. So there is a love, there is a support from Sigrid. And in her own way, like with our Message Church. 5 years, we have Message Church, we've had it for 5 years. It's her baby, not mine. Who loved you? Who expressed and reflected God's love to you in their own unique way? Well, Sigrid did. Grandma did. Sigrid still does. Grandma is gone, but I can still feel her close. Now, for many of us, there are the occasions where we snuggle up, where we are being held, where we feel the warmth, and that is key and important to us. But for some of us at specific times in our lives, we also need some confrontation, some holding up the mirror, some kind of, okay, Dietmar, I'm not so sure this is gonna work out for you. I know how naive I was in seminary and in early training. There was someone who had a drinking problem, and I tried to help him. I went and we prayed, and I went to his mother, and we tried to do everything. Well, all the love, all the care, it did not go anywhere. It does not work when there is addiction, for example, or when there is a self-centeredness, or when the ego is too big or too inflated, or when someone does some things that are way out there, then we need to be held the mirror up. That is important in relationships too, like, I know the blue lights behind me, speeding and so on, those are life lessons, and I feel so humbled. I feel like lots of humble pie eating right there. But also, in our relationship, like what John the Baptist does, he does two things. One is, he's inviting people into a changed life, into a openness, opening their hearts. And the message of the Old Testament, of the Hebrew Scriptures, is often, people have a hard heart. They're stubborn, they're stiff-necked, they're like set in their ways, they don't get it. Then they get the prophets, wake up. You're driving the wrong direction in a one-way street. You're on collision course. Wake up. And sometimes, don't we all need those? We're kind of... We need the love, the care, the embrace, the warmth. And we need sometimes to be held up the mirror that John the Baptist does and says, you can do better. You can do better. You're on the wrong path. Wake up. You're in self-centered life. You're missing the point, what it is about. So we need both of them. And our invitation during this Advent is to focus on both. Focus on who reflected the love, but also who reflected the love that drew boundaries, that set us straight in some way, that held up the mirror. It's so important that we reflect that too. You know, parents who want to be their best friends, their children's best friends, it does not work. Boundaries are so important for all of us, children and grown-ups as well. Who reflected God's love to you that you didn't welcome like a warm hug, but that was important by drawing lines where you were way off? That is how God is at work too. I remember the icon, and I appreciate JC, you reminding me of it. Andrei Rublev, a 1400 Russian painter, painted an icon of the Holy Trinity, and he picks that up as the three visitors who came to Abram and Sarah, announcing that they will have a descendant. So they come, and he draws them and paints them. And they're so unique, all women, and it's almost like a dance. They're turning toward each other. And then what we believe, and it's not there anymore, at the bottom of the icon is a rectangle, and there was a mirror there. The mirror was meant for us when we see ourselves in the mirror, that we're drawn into the dance of the Trinity. We're drawn into the divine dance and are opened up to experience that very presence of the living one. Who reflected God's love for you? Grandma, Sigrid, those who set me straight. You'll hear more about them at some point. Thank God for them. And how will you reflect that very love of God? How will you do it?